From the Marriott Center in Provo, Utah, home of the BYU Cougars. Maybe the game of the year in the West Coast Conference on Big Monday as the Cougars host the #1 undefeated Bulldogs of Gonzaga. Speaking of undefeated, you got to go back almost a full year right on this court the last time that the Zags lost a game. It was in February of 2020. And it was a heck of a game. Sean Farnham and I were both there on February 22nd. Back and forth, tons of offense, all kinds of star players on the court. Ultimately, BYU just too much offense. And BYU won going away. A Cougars team that was peaking at that point. And, of course, we know what happened at the end of the season. 91-78 was the final. BYU beat the then #2 Zags of Gonzaga. A huge celebration ensued. We'll see if history can repeat itself tonight. Dave Fleming, along with Sean Farnham. Great to have you with us, Sean. I don't know if it can. Gonzaga, last year #2, this year #1, maybe even more powerful here in 2021.
Yeah, powerful in particular at the offensive end of the floor. Not since the old big Monday day games when they had UNLV playing in this time slot back in the 90s have we seen an offense with as much showtime as what the Gonzaga Bulldogs have been able to accomplish all season long. And you think about the efficiency in which this team plays at. They're scoring at the best clip of anybody in the country. And Corey Kispert's efficiency, field goal percentage, three-point, free throw, and 20 points per game, unlike something we've seen in the last 30 years of college basketball. And then they're unselfish. This Gonzaga team really loves setting up their teammate and thrive in enjoying seeing others' success. They're #2 in the country in assists per game, and they're on pace to set a single-season record for best field goal percentage in college basketball over the last 25 years inside the arc at almost 65%.
Well, you and I were there. It was only a few weeks ago in Spokane when these two teams met this season, and we thought, hey, BYU, they got recent positive history against the Zags. The beginning of the game did not go well for the Cougars. We got an early whistle as BYU tried to get the ball inside. Did they call that foul against Jalen Suggs? I think they did. He's a little confused about it. It's absolutely imperative, isn't it, Sean, that BYU gets off to a better start tonight?
Well, it couldn't have gone much worse for them at the start of that game. And if you're going to try to beat Gonzaga, you've got to be able to at least apply pressure to them early. You're not going to make up large deficits against this team with as powerful as their offense is.
Alex Barcelo took the first shot. Kispert will do that for the Zags, and he knocks down the three.
Elite. I mean, when the ball hits his hands in transition, you have to be there on the catch. If you are not, that's exactly what's going to happen.
BYU is using a different lineup here of late. They turn it over, and now the Zags out in transition. Drew Timme, the big man, running the floor, dishes it to Ayayi, who had his shot swatted away. Ayayi will attack, and instead of challenging Harms, finds Kispert again, this time a little bit short. Long rebound. Gonzaga will get a third chance at it, and they score.
You have to clean up your defensive glass. You cannot allow Gonzaga to get multiple looks on a single possession.
Gideon George starting his second game. He travels, so that's another BYU turnover. Sloppy for the Cougars in the first minute plus.
I remember it was George, though, that came off the bench in that game in Spokane and actually provided some life, in particular in the second half of that contest.
You're right. The two young players, Gideon George, young in terms of experience at this level, Caleb Lohner, who is a freshman, who are now in the starting lineup for a second straight game together. Those two were probably the two best BYU players in Spokane. Brandon Averett, nice little bounce pass to Matt Harms, who had a hard time catching it. And a jump ball. The ball's going to go back to Gonzaga. Andrew Nembhard got his hands on it. So it's interesting that Nembhard is starting this game tonight for the Zags. Jalen Suggs drives. Found a wide-open Ayayi who kicks it over to Nembhard. Hits the three.
Good to get him going offensively. He'd been struggling a little bit, coming off his worst game of his career so far at Gonzaga with only 2 points last time out against Pacific.
Well, a much-needed bucket for BYU. Timme lines up the three, and that one's good. Well, we welcome those of you joining us from Allen Fieldhouse, where Kansas finishes off Oklahoma State. Dave Fleming, Sean Farnham tonight from Provo, Utah, where the Zags are off to another terrific start. The number 1 ranked undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs, Jalen Suggs with the steal and the layup. It's 13-2 Gonzaga in the first couple of minutes of this one.
Dave, you and I were talking about the first meeting that these teams had and how slow BYU got off to a very poor start. And they fell behind early in a big-time way, and Gonzaga found their rhythm and just coasted in for a victory. And this start has an eerily similar feel right now for BYU. They're getting beat on the glass. They're turning the ball over. They're allowing Gonzaga to run out in transition. Corey Kispert shooting uncontested three-point shots on the first possession of the game. Mark Pope's team has got to get locked in here quickly.
Yeah, I think it was a few weeks ago, I think, when we were joined in progress for that one, Sean, and said hi to the rest of the country joining our game. It was 16-2. Tonight, it's 13-2. And it was ugly up in Spokane. It has a chance to get ugly tonight if BYU can't get this thing turned around. I mean, we build this as the game of the year in the West Coast Conference, and I do think it is the one chance for the ultra-powerful Bulldogs to go down in league play. BYU, good team, having a good year. Alex Barcelo had his shot rejected and just wildly saved it in, but he did find his teammate Harding, who missed the layup.
Those are the missed opportunities that you have to be able to complete if you're going to try to pull off an upset against this team.
They're and also again, not rebounding the ball.
Offensive rebound.
I mean, they had a 3-shot possession a moment ago. Now they get a second chance here.
And, Dave, I know that Joel Ayayi is a very good rebounding guard, maybe the best that we have in all of college basketball from the guard position. But if you're BYU, that shot goes up, you have to make sure that you've got 5 guys attacking that paint, securing that possession, not allowing second chance points.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Matt Harms just got taken out of the game. Richard Harward is in there. Suggs, nice little move from the freshman to lay it in off the glass.
He brought him up the lane and got him 2 steps up and then reversed on him, creating that space by himself.
And Jalen Suggs, as a lot of freshmen do, kind of went through a lull for a few games, turned it up a notch a couple nights ago, is off to a great start here tonight in Provo. Well, Mark Few's team, it would be understandable if the Zags had any sort of complacency settling in, because they just haven't often been challenged. They did get challenged last time out, though, on the road against Pacific a couple of nights ago, a few more than that now. They were down at halftime in that game, so I think Coach Few looking for a better all-around performance tonight. Harward throws up a brick. They're going to call that an over and back foul against Gideon George.
And to your point, that game against Pacific was their lowest scoring first half that they've had all season long. They were trailing at the break. Then they came out in the second half, and the lead for Pacific started to grow. It was a very disjointed game for Gonzaga, and I think a little bit sometimes in conference play you can have that kind of complacency. There was no chance that they're walking into Provo tonight feeling complacent, because they know that this BYU team is capable.
I mean, Connor Harding's now missed 2 basically uncontested layups. You do that against number 1, you got no chance. Suggs pulls up for 3, and he airballs it. Well, we've talked about the stars at the outset, and that means Jalen Suggs and Corey Kispert and Drew Timme, but it's not like Gonzaga doesn't have other good players. We're going to spend some time on the rest of the Zags right after this.
Dave, we spent so much time talking about Kispert, Timme, and Suggs, but it's the other guys that could help this team win a national championship this year for Gonzaga. They've already proven to do so this season. Look at the combined numbers, the efficiency you get from this trio of Nembhard, Watson, and Cook. Remember, Nembhard has been sensational twice this year. Pepperdine, West Virginia, had 19 points. Cook had 15 in that game at Pepperdine. Watson had 23 in a near-perfect performance against Portland. And it's the depth of this team and understanding and accepting of roles, which I think is going to be very important as they continue to push forward into the NCAA tournament and try to win a national championship.
It is so impressive. And Mark Few's even talked to you and me, Sean, about how using these last few games to develop maybe even a little more depth heading into the tournament, just in case, whether it's an injury, somebody can't play because of protocol, foul trouble in a game, maybe giving an opportunity to even some other players who aren't on either of those lists. Alex Barcelo laid one in. Nembhard quickly this direction, missed the three.
Barcelo is the one guy, by the way, for BYU that really needs to have a big game. And he needs to take kind of that leadership and assertive role.
I agree with you. He had a good look there. Missed it. The IE three off the mark. Connor Harding looks just totally out of sync. Gideon George, nice drive and layup.
He got the floor spaced out, created a seam. We saw George have success up in Spokane, driving and attacking. And he has the capabilities of doing that in this game too, but they've got to find those seams and force the defense to have to shift sides, at least 1 or 2 ball reversals.
You saw those numbers. Sean was talking about the game against the Zags, and those numbers from his last game out against Portland, the best game of his BYU career. Drew Timme, little hook shot. No, and they're going to call a foul against BYU. And Mark Pope cannot believe it. He thought that was an over the back. Second year, a guy who's just done a great job as the head man of this BYU program.
He has such great energy and the attention to detail at shoot-arounds that you and I have been at over the years. He is just dialed into the mental aspect of his team. And that's one of the areas where I look at this BYU team and you try to compare. You don't want to compare necessarily last year because of all the veterans. But there is a difference in the makeup of this team, and Mark's had to work a little bit harder with this group because it's not as experienced in those star roles like they had a year ago.
By the way, that was the second foul against Gideon George. That's a big story in the first few minutes. Anton Watson, one of the players that Sean was just talking about. Nice little baby hook there for a Gonzaga bucket.
And Mark Few changed the starting lineup tonight, and Watson did not get the start. They went with Nembhard, wanted to give a different feel and a different look at the start of this game to see how it worked out. Obviously, it's worked out pretty well as far as executing, but that's the versatility that Gonzaga has. And Mark Pope told us that, look, when they go to the small lineup, you have certain coverages you want to do defensively against screens, but then when you put Watson in, now you've got to change your lineup once again. And the way that you cover and the way that you shrink off of certain players.
BYU, nothing happening on this possession. Spencer Johnson knows he's got to get a shot up. He does, and it goes down.
He had 15 in the loss at Pepperdine earlier this year. And if you're BYU, you're not worried about the 9-point deficit right now. You got to try to get stops, and you want to find somebody that has the confidence to attack and be aggressive and find ways to score.
That was good defense by the freshman loner against Kispert, one of the best offensive players in all of college basketball. Now Johnson again, I think he pushed off. Yeah, they're going to call an offensive foul.
And drive down the lane, good positioning, and a clear push off. And look, I love the way Cook shows his hands. You're showing your hands up, you know you're not reaching, you're not grabbing, your elbow's not on. He had his hands up high and wide as he was covering on that drive, and it was easy to sell that push off.
Already 5 BYU turnovers, so that's a big reason why the Cougars are off to such a sluggish start. Second game in a row against the Zags. Great little pass from Nembhard to Watson.
The fluidity in which they play at the offensive end is impressive. Every single night, it doesn't disappoint.
What did Mark Few tell us about Andrew Nembhard? Maybe the best screen and roll passer that he's ever had at Gonzaga.
It's incredible when you think of the great guards that they've had under Mark Few.
Harward down low, one dribble, goes up and scores.
This, by the way, the largest crowd Gonzaga has played in front of since the Virginia contest. There's 200 plus fans here tonight inside the Marriott Center. And for Mark Few's team, they haven't played in a lot of venues where you've had fans at all. And so a little bit more unique as far as an environment, trying to feed off the energy. You know, there's something to be said, Dave. When you're Gonzaga and you go on the road, those are the most lively environments schools have all season long. You and I were there last year, the Rock, the student section. Man, that place was packed 2 hours before the game. And it was the loudest environment I've ever heard in a college basketball game that I've called. It was sensational.
Last year, BYU literally had 6,000 students. I mean, they had almost 20,000 fans. They had 6,000 students in attendance for that game. The upset of then number 2 Gonzaga. The last time that the Zags lost a game was on this floor just about a year ago. Nembhard, another, I thought, good look. Cook didn't handle it, but avoided the turnover. There's Kispert. Good defense again, I think, by Lohner to get a hand in there. Drew Timme, the big man, offensive foul by him. Harms draws the charge.
Dipped the shoulder down, but I think to your point, Caleb Lohner and his defense that he's playing on Corey Kispert right now is causing some frustration. Kispert's not getting open and clean looks on the outside. Timme forces it, goes right into the chest, drops down the shoulder, easy call.
Number 1 Gonzaga on the road at BYU, 19-10 the first half score. Zags with the lead last year on this court. It was a different story. Sean and I were just talking about how we were there last season. It was an unbelievable atmosphere and game. It went back and forth with Hawes, with Toulson, with the shooting, with the scoring, and ultimately with a BYU win emphatically, 91-78. The last time Gonzaga lost a game was right here on this floor with the huge celebration afterwards where the BYU players, Sean, were yelling at us to come out and celebrate with them afterwards, have a glass of milk after the game. They were making us laugh. They had a terrific time that night. That is the last loss for Gonzaga. This year's matchups, at least so far, long way to go in this one still. This year's matchups have gone a lot differently.
They have, and that team was built differently. The makeup of that team was set, and I truly believe that there was a Sweet 16 and Elite 8 type run in that BYU team last year. They were great. And they guys like Haas and Childs and Toulson, they lit up for the big game. Like you saw, there was a different kind of feel about them when you saw them at shoot-around, the excitement, the razor-sharp focus that we saw. This year's team, you and I were in person. We're not in person there tonight, but we saw them up in Spokane, and it was a little bit of more uncertainty and a lack of that killer instinct. And I think part of that is there's so many guys in new roles, but it's also hard to find guys that can do that on a consistent basis like that group had a year ago. It was a special makeup.
It was. Different BYU team. A BYU team that's having another good year. They're 15-4, 6-2, projected easily to be in the field as Jalen Suggs, perfect on the 3 for the freshman.
A good start for Suggs. He's got 7 points early coming off that game where he had 19 against Pacific. But, yeah, to your point, this is an NCAA tournament team in BYU.
But I think the big picture point you were making, BYU, look, they have some really good wins, good net rating, 27 net rating. It should make Mark Pope feel pretty good about his team's chances of being in that field. Lunardi's got him projected as a number 9 seed. So BYU's a good team. But that doesn't mean they're the same group that last year went toe-to-toe with Gonzaga and ultimately took them down. Kispert bounces it to Drew Timme, who scoops it in with a foul.
This great job. Harms extending up high, going underneath the tree branches to finish that one. Well, the pass, when Harms puts his hands up and you just scoop right underneath the big fella. And a good finish and a good dump down pass by Corey Kispert. Drew Timme's off to a great start in this game. He struggled a little bit in that game the first go around as far as being assertive. He's 5 of 8. For him, I guess, is struggling with 12 points, but he's got 7 already early in this game.
Missed the chance for the 3-point play, but right as BYU was looking like they were settling in this game, Zags have gone on a push. Lohner, the freshman, for 3. Yes.
I like him a lot. You know, you talk about who's the next guy that's going to have that look in his eye to like some of those players that we were just talking about in Haas and Charles. I think Lohner is going to be that guy. I saw it up in Spokane when he came off the bench. And every time I watch them play, I get more excited about what his future could be in Provo.
It tells you a little bit something, doesn't it, about the confidence his coach has in him, that he's got the assignment with Kispert. Suggs went right by. They'll call that basket good. Harward with the goaltend. Jalen Suggs with a super quick move.
Kalen Lohner, he not only does have great hair, but I mean, look, he's a freshman and he's built like a senior. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is strong. He has a great physique about him. He can hold his position. He's aggressive. He doesn't lack confidence. You know, his father played for BYU. His father, Matt, played at BYU in the middle of the 90s. And that lineage is going to continue to pass down. And I think he's going to become the face of this program over the next couple of years.
Ayayi back in. Zags have the ball up 28-16. Under 10 to go first half. Suggs, quick look down low to Timmy, who just got great position. Did have it knocked away, but gets it right back and puts it in.
How crisp is the ball movement on the outside? I don't know if they're going to give Suggs an assist on that. They should. But that ball movement on the outside, no dribbles, forcing the defense to shift. Great job posting up deep by Timmy.
11-3 Gonzaga run. Now the double team comes and Nembhard steals it away. Great lead pass to Suggs. Knifes his way down the lane and they call him for an offensive foul.
Jalen Suggs is asking, are you serious? No, that's not a charge.
No.
That is not a charge.
It wasn't in real time and it's not on the replay. So that's 2 on Suggs, which is too bad. I mean, it's probably good news for BYU. Suggs has 9 points in his first half, but he's got to go to the bench. Brandon Averett looking to get the ball down low to Harward. Shot clock down to 5. Averett finds Harding, who had his 3 rejected. And now they blew the whistle away from the ball. I think they're getting Harward for a push off underneath the basket.
The officials might be going to the monitor on this one, Dave.
Well, they called a double foul.
I think when you reach over the top and you use your arm to throw a player like that, would not be surprised if they upgraded this. Listen, there's contact. Basketball's a contact sport. You know, I mean, like, look, I played college basketball, swim moves, trying to gain leverage all the time. Let's just play. I look at it again. Let's just play. You want to call double foul on it, call a double foul. You got a little bit of a hook there and a grab by Nembhard reaching around. The reaction was the toss. Nembhard kind of sells it a little bit. Let's just play on double foul. Let's go play basketball.
Well, I think that's what they're ruling. Mark Few watched his guy get thrown to the side. Now Richard Harward is a big, strong dude. So the double foul, 1 on the shot clock. Barcelo catches and gets it off and hits the 3.
How about that? They needed that in a big-time fashion. Game starting to slip away. The guy you count on most has to deliver.
Wow, missed layup underneath the basket on this end. That's Julian Strother, who doesn't play a lot. Mark Few's very excited about his future. BYU had a chance to build on a little run and turned it over. Ayayi in the open court. Missed it. Brandon Averett. That's Trevin Nell. In and out. So some good looks on both sides, not going down, which is unusual for these two teams, especially Gonzaga, the best shooting team in college basketball, best offensive team in the country. Corey Kispert, big reason why.
And Kispert now up to 5 points after that drive. Gonzaga missed those 2 shots in a row, and we're going, uncharacteristic misses. Dave, they've made 7 out of their last 9 shots that they've taken.
Yeah, they're still shooting 56%, and now they call another offensive foul. That'll be another BYU turnover.
1 on the shot clock. Inbounds, Barcelo catch. Let it fly, let it rip. A lot more needs to happen for BYU from the outside. Barcelo has to be the guy. We know who the guy is for Gonzaga. It's Corey Kispert, number 24 in blue. He's playing like a first-team All-American.
Huge day of college hoops again on all of our networks on Saturday, and it gets started with Indiana, number 4, Ohio State. Indiana, big win against Iowa. Ohio State rolling in the top 5 now. Noon Eastern on ESPN right here, plus on the app. You can watch anywhere.
Ohio State, they have been on a roll as of late as we take a look at the AP top 10 all the way up to number 4. Dave, I've been so impressed with what Chris Holtmann has been able to accomplish. Dwayne Washington tonight had 18. Kyle Young had 18. E.J. Liddell has been absolutely on fire for them. You talk about offensive efficiency. Ohio State is amongst the best in the country.
They've had injuries, they've had issues, and yet they are playing just about as well as anybody. Drew Timme elevates and scores right over top Colby Lee. And to your point, where it feels like Gonzaga's missed some wide open looks that they usually hit, they're shooting almost 60% here in the first half anyway.
Compounded by mistakes, though. Too many turnovers, 4 turnovers in the last couple of minutes for this BYU team. 9 overall in the first half that have led to 13 points.
Wow, what was that? Alex Barcelo, such a good shooter. He missed wide left. Drew Timme dribbles it off his foot. Barcelo pulls up at the free throw line. That's much more Barcelo-like.
And he has big game potential for him. I mean, we talk about it over and over again, but he has put up big numbers this year. And an opportunity for him to find a way against this Gonzaga team to be the guy that has to score 20, 25 plus points for them to have a chance.
I mean, he just had an ultimate nightmare game up in Spokane a few weeks ago when these two teams first met, but he's having a really good year. He's gotten better and better every year of his college career. And another bucket for Barcelo. He's got 9 now.
Notice what he's doing, Dave. He's turning down the three-point shot, and he's getting to the logo, the WCC logo in the middle of the paint. And when he can get there and is a good scorer, sometimes we say, hey, mid-range shot is, not something we really want to get to in college basketball anymore. But he finds a seam, stops right on that logo, elevate up, quick, soft touch over the top of the defense. Remember, this Gonzaga team, if there's a hole that can be found, is a lack of length and shot blocking ability. They don't have that rim protector like you've seen in previous years in Spokane. There's no Brandon Clark on this year's roster. There's no Zach Collins. There's no Shemet Karnowski, Rob Sacre type player.
Missed free throw from Drew Timme. Missed the front end of the 1-and-1. So BYU down 11 after the disastrous beginning to this game. They got a chance with 5.5 minutes to go until halftime. Barcelo, not that time on the 3. There's Cook on the attack. Cook missed it.
Got a number situation to push ahead, see if you can flatten out the defense.
Lohner squares. Saved by Timme. Emhart, well, the defense just left him, so he said, okay, I'll lay it in then. Fine. You dared me to.
And that's one of those things where you don't have to hurry. When you have a little poise, a little patience, sometimes the defense is playing so quick that they don't slow down with you, and it creates a scene for you to be able to finish.
Andrew Nembhard, a guy who started almost 70 games in 2 years in the SEC at Florida, has come to Gonzaga and mostly comes off the bench for the #1 ranked team in the country. Barcelo, 3. No. Ayayi. Lohner got his hand in the passing lane again. Caleb Lohner's made some good defensive plays.
Now, Lohner's stats aren't going to jump off this page in the first half. 3 points, he's got 1 rebound. But I think his defense has been the best in the half court of anybody on BYU's roster right now. He has been active with that deflection there, but he's been taking on the assignment of guarding Corey Kispert and it's doing an excellent job staying attached and being there on the catch.
Pretty impressive, I think. Umar Ballo is also in the game for the Zags. Kispert that time went right by Lohner, but he came up short. Here's Spencer Johnson, out of control, out of bounds off of Gonzaga. We won't clip that one off for the ultimate resume reel, but BYU will have it when we come back. 3:50 to go until halftime. Gonzaga 36, BYU 23. Coming up on the Jeep halftime report, Kevin and the gang in studio. A couple of topics at the forefront for lots of college hoops fans. Trust more, Gonzaga O or Baylor D? Offense for Gonzaga, Baylor's great defense. Both are good at both things, frankly, but the two best teams in college basketball. Kansas looking to bounce back, a very important game for the Jayhawks. They did do that. They'll have highlights from Kansas's win at home against Oklahoma State. Gonzaga and Baylor, it's not just offense versus defense, Sean. It's #1 versus #2, and right now feeling like the two heavyweights in this sport.
No, there's no doubt about it. Unfortunately for Baylor, though, they just paused 3 additional more games, and they were against Texas Tech and then 2 games against West Virginia. Those are easily their 3 most difficult games probably they had remaining on their schedule inside Big 12 play. But it's funny, we talk so much about the offense versus defense thing, and obviously Baylor's in the top 10 in offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. So's Gonzaga. And in the latest KenPom stats, Gonzaga has the 2nd most efficient offense and the 8th best defense.
Both teams are just really balanced. A great hustle play by Lohner got BYU the ball, but the Cougars couldn't capitalize, so they're still down 13. Cook dishes to Ballo, the big man, who missed the layup. So some great looks near the rim for the Zags, and not necessarily the players we're used to seeing take those shots, but some misses, unusual ones for Gonzaga. Barcelo draws the foul.
Heady play by Barcelo there. I mean, he got right in front of Ballo and just stopped and hit the brakes and kind of reversed a little bit right into him. Ballo coming back from that thumb injury, making his return to the court for Gonzaga short-lived as he goes right back to the bench.
He looked a little rusty. Bonus time for a great free throw shooter. Barcelo earns the 2nd. We're talking about Saturday college hoops, not just college hoops, the NBA. What about this lineup? Carolina, Virginia, Saturday showcase, 6 Eastern on ESPN. And then the Nets with KD against his old team, Steph and the Warriors, 8:30 Eastern on ABC. Saturday night, 10 Eastern, that UFC 258 main card on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. Lohner rebound, 12-point lead, under 3 minutes to go here in Provo.
I think if you can get this thing down to about 5, 6, I think Mark Pope will take that, especially with the way this game started. A 15-2 start. 13-point deficit to the #1 team in the country.
Man, Barcelo just dribbled it off his leg. Oh, no, it went off Cook's leg.
I think Mark Few is as surprised as you were, Dave.
America can't see me, but I made the same look.
I can see you.
Yeah,
amazing. The amazing features of Zoom.
And maybe I missed it. It's very possible. Vern Harris had a lot better look at it than I did. Barcelo, nice little mid-range move. Man, his 3-point shot has not been going down, but everything else about his game is working.
Yeah, fantastic. 1 for 5 from beyond the arc, but he has been great inside of it. He's got 12 points. He needs to continue to attack.
Caleb Lohner's playing harder than anybody out there. He's diving all over the place. Drew Timme makes his move, draws the foul.
What a first half for Drew Timme. You go to the free throw line here with 11 points and 5 rebounds, and offensively he's been their leader, especially with Suggs going to the bench with 2 fouls. Suggs was sensational early in this game, attacking off the bounce, but Timme, he's been the stabilizer, and he has been playing some of the best basketball of his entire career as of late. He's averaging over 20 points per game, breaking the 20-point mark 3 out of the last 4 games that he's played.
Well, tonight at the free throw line has not been pretty for Drew Timme. Jalen Suggs was looking like he was ready to have a monster game, but 2 fouls, as Sean mentioned, hadn't played big minutes in his first half. Timme makes 1 of 2. I mean, you can make an argument, Sean. I mean, Drew Timme, we talk about Suggs and Kispert and then Luka Garza and Ayo Dosunmu and Jared Butler. There are others. Drew Timme is having close to as good of a year as anybody in college. He's a player of the year candidate nationally. He's that good.
Yeah. And look, the top 20 list came out. 3 Zags are on the top 20 list. Great spacing, great attack once again, that time by Johnson. BYU's figuring some things out here offensively, Dave.
They are. They're going to call a blocking foul, I think, against Barcelo.
You
Down to single digits, the lead.
Yeah, you get first side over to second side, and then you look to, if you have an advantage and you have a late closeout, can you beat that person off the bounce? And once you beat them, are you going to the rim or are you stopping for a little floater? And we've seen Barcelo get to that floater spot a couple of times. See Johnson on this previous possession. You watch the little ball reversal, a little bit late closeout with high hands, and just easy. You know, a little pin and seal underneath by Lohner, but he didn't really have to do a whole lot there. He just stood in front of Drew Timme.
Barcelo committed his 2nd personal foul. So Gideon George with 2 fouls comes back in the game along with Connor Harding. Barcelo likely is going to sit for the final minute and a half. Lead is 11 for the #1 undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs. Harding got cut off, almost traveled. A little different with no Barcelo in there, but Nembhard reaches in, commits a foul.
And Johnson, as I mentioned, had that 15 points earlier this year against Pepperdine. There's some good plays in his minutes tonight. And that one was slow down enough, frustrate Nembhard. Nembhard reaches in, trying to make a play, trying to force a play. And as soon as he reached in, Johnson's like, fine, I'm going to go to the free throw line. I'm going to get 2.
He's playing now about 17 minutes a game, so he's worked his way into more playing time for Mark Pope. He makes them both. Made that second one a little more dramatic. 9-point lead for the Zags. Timme had it poked away from behind. Johnson couldn't quite save it inbounds.
That's a smart play, though. With some of the action they have, Gonzaga will run guys off, and it's really a false action to get to the next guy. If you leave that guy, you can back tap like that, and good effort play by Johnson.
Nembhard, left-handed pass, found the freshman Strother, in and out on the 3. BYU can cut that deficit down even more. Averett pulls up 3. No. That was a big opportunity. Now out of bounds off of Gideon George. Nembhard backing his way in, and wow, right over top the smaller Averett.
And just finding a matchup that you feel like you can exploit. And Nembhard, with all of his experience, said we don't have to do a lot of passing on this set. I'm going to go right down to the block and see if I can create an advantage.
Tiny difference, game clock, shot clock, but essentially BYU is going to hold for the final look. Averett pulls up, and I take it back. He shot it pretty early. Lohner hustles for the offensive rebound. No good. Johnson gets it off. That one no good, but now a whistle and a foul against Gonzaga.
A little bit lucky there for BYU based on when that first shot came. The second shot was rushed. The third shot, I don't think Johnson had any clue how much time was left to go on the clock. He could have had his feet set underneath him and taken a much better look from where he did. And they get bailed out here and get an opportunity to get to the free throw line.
Foul was against Nembhard. Lohner makes the first free throw, double bonus. Nembhard's got 2 fouls. So Suggs with 2, Nembhard with 2. Well, I say 2, he's got 3 now.
Yep.
Rebound Timmy, who shows off a pretty strong arm. That was an overthrow. Through the back of the end zone, incomplete.
There's a lot of overthrows last night, too, by the way, in the Super Bowl.
Wow. That was pretty impressive. 10-point lead for the Zags. It's halftime in Provo after this break. To the studio, Kevin Agandi, Seth Greenberg, LaFonso Ellis. It's the Jeep Halftime Report. Welcome back to Big Monday tonight from Provo, Utah, as we get ready to start the second half. The #1 ranked team in college basketball, undefeated Gonzaga, with a 41-31 lead over BYU. Big game in the WCC. Dave Fleming, Sean Farnham back with you. Sean, what were your impressions of how that first half unfolded?
Well, uncharacteristic for BYU, but similar from the standpoint of when they last played Gonzaga. They got off to an extremely slow start. And when this team gets off to a slow start against a team like Gonzaga, you're going to see open floor buckets and transition points. And I thought Jalen Suggs was fantastic early in this game. He got into some foul trouble, which took him out of a majority of that first half. But in 9 minutes, he had a couple of assists, a couple of rebounds. He was 4 of 6 from the field, aggressively attacking the hoop, providing energy. And then when he went out, it shifted. And they said, okay, Drew Timme, it's your turn to go get buckets. And he did plentiful of that. 5 of 6 shooting. He's got 12 points, 6 rebounds in the first half. BYU looked like it was a mess. Too many turnovers, giving up too many points off those turnovers. And then Alex Barcelo said, you know what, I'm going to stop shooting three-point shots. I'm going to get inside the arc, and I'm going to start aggressively attacking. And his teammates started following his lead. And I think there was plenty of positives in the final 10 minutes of that first half for BYU to carry over now into the second half.
Yeah, I give BYU credit. They didn't shoot the 3-ball very well, as you said, Alex Barcelo in particular. They didn't shoot very well overall, but they scrapped in those last, 5+ minutes of the first half. And instead of what happened in Spokane, where it started off as a blowout and it ended as a blowout, this one, we got a ball game here. See if the Zags get challenged in the second half on the same floor where they last lost almost a full year ago. Gideon George, who had foul trouble through the first half, gave it up to Alex Barcelo. Barcelo's pull-up is good. That mid-range game that you just referenced, that's been the way he's gotten his points tonight.
And they're bringing Timme out, and they're using the speed advantage of Barcelo to get past him and get to that point on the floor. People always ask, what makes a great scorer? I said, one that knows exactly where they can get their shot, how they can get their shot off, and where they can make their shot. And if they do all 3 of those things, you've got a highly effective basketball player.
Well, 3 miss after kind of a sloppy Gonzaga offensive possession. It has not been a close game for a long while. In fact, really hasn't been close since the first minute of the game. BYU's down 8 with the ball. Matt Harms didn't play much at all in the first half. Kind of flipped that one up and missed it. Harms has not scored.
And I think if you're going to use Harms, just continue to use him as a screener. And I would delay his role to continue to allow that seam for the guards to kind of get downhill a little bit on this Gonzaga defense.
How good does Jalen Suggs look tonight?
Fantastic.
We
saw Cade Cunningham.
Yep.
Cade Cunningham in the game before us. The last 2 games, I ran some numbers. Cade Cunningham is 10 of 38 shooting with 13 turnovers. He's the projected #1 pick. Jalen Suggs, to me, looks better than that. And I'll tell you one other player that if you're not paying attention to, USC's Evan Mobley. He has been ultra efficient and effective for the Trojans, who are now ranked in the top 25.
Harms hustling after the loose ball. And it's going to be Gonzaga basketball. Jalen Suggs almost had a spectacular, as you were talking about him, almost a spectacular alley-oop. Wasn't a great pass. Instead, he hustled back on defense, helped Gonzaga get the ball back. I'm with you. You watch him play tonight. He hadn't been on the court for that many minutes because of the 2 fouls, at least one of which was a questionable call. He looks the part. No shot. Foul on the floor.
Yeah, Jalen Suggs, the first half, that was a really poor call in transition. I mean, no way it should have been a charge. He should have been at the free throw line shooting 2. Instead, he went and sat on the bench. And what you like to see is the maturity to come back out on the floor and bring that same level of intensity that he had earlier in this game.
Threw that one up. Watson cleaned up the miss, though, and laid it in.
Watson, one of the most efficient players in college basketball, period. I mean, he doesn't require a lot. He's 3 for 3. He's got 6 points. He's played 7 minutes. He just quietly goes about his business.
Big shot for Gideon George. Hits the 3 coming off his best game at BYU. Back down to a 9-point Zags lead. Timmy, quick move, then spun back left and finished with that hand.
Do you know how difficult that was, Dave? Do you know how good of a basketball move that was by Drew Timme?
Against a guy who has to be considered one of the best shot blockers in the game. Lohner just had it taken away. Kispert is going to beat him down the floor. Kispert lays it in.
And they can put it on you in a hurry.
You make a turnover like that against Gonzaga, it's points the other way. George down the lane. Gideon George, good move. Missed the layup. Lohner tipped it in.
Continue to be impressed with 33 and White. And just great awareness and understanding. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time, Dave. A nice drive by Kispert gets him to the free throw line. Caleb Lohner just does an outstanding job of being where you're supposed to be. And if you're coaching a team, you want to know, okay, what am I going to get out of this guy every single night? What you're getting right now is some great defense on one of the best players in the country. And then offensively, he's just whatever you need him to do, he's willing to do to try to help make winning basketball plays. Speaking about a winner, the guy at the free throw line, it's all he's done his entire career.
Amazing. How many wins has he been a part of now? I'm losing track. Oh, close to 115, something like that. With you figure plenty more to go in this season. Spencer Johnson in. Barcelo pulls up, hits it.
He's getting that bounce to his step right now that you want to see if you're Mark Pope.
Nembhard got fouled. Well, BYU at least is trying to hang in this game, Sean.
Yep, and number 1 in blue. He's a lottery pick come June, and he might be the difference maker of raising the first ever national championship banner at the end of the year for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. He's been sensational all night long.
(50-40), Gonzaga leads. Let's hear from the Zags freshman Jalen Suggs in our Wendy's Wooden Watch.
The thing that drives me the most on a basketball court is just my competitive spirit. I always want to go out and show them the best, help my team win.
Well, they've trimmed the list, Sean Farnham, down to 20. Wendy's Wooden Watch late season top 20, and the Zags have 3 of the 20.
It's like trying to decide what flatbread you're going to go with the Davenport. You know, you got the Thai chicken, you got the pepperoni sausage, and then you have my favorite, the spicy shrimp flatbread. All of them are great. You just got to choose which one you want.
Everybody in the Northwest was waiting. How's he going to do it tonight? How's he going to weave it in? Sitting at home in LA with the game in Provo. I'm in San Francisco. Our producer's there on site. Just your normal setup. Scramble drill, a Yai 3 comes up short. But Timmy with the offensive rebound, then missed one from point-blank range, which almost never happens. BYU got away with one there. Suggs back in the game.
You're a funny guy, Dave.
Well, we don't hide it from people in these games. Now, sometimes you and I have been there in person. We were there in Spokane for the first meeting between these two teams, but in this instance, we're not there, and sometimes we do.
I miss being there. I miss being in Provo. Last year was such a special trip.
Well, you said it. Good pass to Connor Harding, who missed the layup. Yep, here we are. See, I could sort of look at you. So you're below me in this screen. I could look down like I'm looking at you. Hi, Sean. Yeah.
I mean, like, if like the Brady Bunch, be like,
wave down. Hi. It's amazing technology that we can do it.
People ask me, like, where's your home setup? It's in my son's room. I kicked my 9-year-old out of his room, and I was like, I got to call a basketball game tonight. You're not sleeping in here. And if you are, you're going to bed too late.
Yeah, Kellen's 9. These later night games, his bedtime is getting interrupted. ESPN apparently didn't factor that in.
I told him he's more than willing to try to sleep in the room while I'm calling the game. I just don't think with the lights and everything that's probably going to work out so well.
We do. We got the full setup. We got monitors. We got cameras. We got TV lights. We got headsets.
It's a good setup. Given what we're dealing with, this works for me just fine.
We get to watch college hoops. Bring it to you at home. Watch two good teams, two rivals in the West Coast Conference, and BYU, give them credit. I mean, they could have folded early. Johnson 3 short. Some of those are going to have to go down. BYU's had some good looks.
There's no doubt about that, Dave. They're going to have to make a couple of those perimeter shots. You can continue to attack inside. That's been good for them, and you can't have that happen.
Yeah, Timmy with a foul, chance for a three-point play.
Is Timmy carving out space, just going and tracking down the ball, rebounding out of your area off the handoff, slipping and rolling to the rim, and being able to put it in.
16 already with 14 minutes to go. He has not been very good at the free throw line. He's 1 for 5 shooting free throws. Harding went by Kispert and scored.
Good strong move, much stronger than what we saw in the first half out of Harding. He missed probably three layups right around the cup that were really easy to finish. That one was more difficult, but a better finish.
Nemhard blows by and scoops it in. Barcelo kind of got knocked off balance, kept his dribble. Harward touches it out to Harding. That was a quick release. Timmy, the big man, can bring it up. Nemhard on the attack, floats it in.
That is such a beautiful possession, and it all starts, as your point, with Drew Timme bringing the ball up the floor. He dumps it off, skip pass over the top. The defense starts to shrink to that side, and they all try to collapse to the ball. You counter right against it where the defense is coming from, and you're going to find a seam. Nemhard, so smart, attacking that seam.
It's just a great example of why several years in a row now they're going to call Harward for lowering the shoulder offensive foul. Hit Timmy right near the throat. Gonzaga is the best offensive team in college basketball. This is a good example why.
And you see the defense goes to that side, then they come all chasing back to the ball, and as they're chasing back, that allows a nice rip, 1-2 dribble with your left, finish, and jump stop beyond balance. Go straight up, straight down. You know, Villanova does that better than anybody in the country, the jump stop, getting in the middle of the paint and jump stopping and being on balance. But a lot of other teams do a pretty good job of it as well. Gonzaga's one of them.
Number one shooting team, number one scoring team. I would say number one assisting team in college basketball. Suggs, great move. Watson touched it, so it's going to be no basket. Maybe he had a chance to go down. Suggs will shoot free throws. All those offensive numbers for Gonzaga. Number one field goals. They're shooting 65% as a team from two. First free throw good for Jalen Suggs. By the way, Super Tuesday, SEC Big 12 combo on ESPN and the app, 7 Eastern. It's Arkansas. Arkansas is 14-5. They go to Lexington to take on Kentucky, so that's first. 7 Eastern tomorrow, Super Tuesday. And then in the Big 12, number 14, West Virginia. Number 7, Texas Tech at 9 Eastern right here on ESPN, streaming live on the app.
And no Terrence Clark the rest of the season. That announcement was made on John Calipari's radio show. The guy that had a ton of expectations coming into the season for Kentucky has missed so much time. And the decision was made officially tonight that no more for him this year. They're not going to try to bring him back. The decision will be made in the offseason whether or not he tries to go to the NBA or whether he comes back to college basketball. But that game that you talked about, the second of that doubleheader between West Virginia and Texas Tech. West Virginia, they can score. It's about their offense right now, and it's been a long time since we said that. Deuce McBride has been putting up some huge numbers for the Mountaineers.
No team challenged Gonzaga more than West Virginia this year. I mean, that may be a little different West Virginia team. Back then, Gideon George draws a foul. No shot. That'll take us to break. 11:58 to go from Provo, Utah. Push for the Zags, and number one is up 15. Zags up 15 at BYU. Dave Fleming, Sean Farnham with you. Sean, how about a little college hoops history lesson?
Yeah, it never before have we had two teams stay on top of the poll this long and maintain their position. The best year we could comp it to is 67-68. UCLA and Houston were ranked number 1 and number 2 in every poll. However, they flip-flopped when Houston beat UCLA during the course of that regular season. Gonzaga and Baylor, they've been 1-2 throughout the course of this year, and they have never changed position. And remember, they were scheduled to play originally. That might have changed the positioning if that game happened, but it didn't. And UCLA would avenge that loss, by the way, to Houston in the Final Four. They'd go on to win the national championship. Alcindor, 34 points, 16 rebounds in the title game that year.
Great little nugget from college hoops history. I mean, it is amazing. We could very well, as that one thrown in by Trevin Knell. BYU needed that bad. Down 12 now with under 12 minutes to go. We could very well go through the regular season with Gonzaga and BYU in those same 1-2 spots for the entire year. Now, it's not a normal year. Still abnormal that it's held true, and it speaks to how good those two teams are.
Dave, Suggs, to your point, I mean, you take a look, go back and look at that top 10 one more time, and look at the teams that are in the contention there. I mean, Michigan, they just extended out their pause. They were scheduled to play Illinois on Thursday. Ohio State is charging. Villanova just came off their pause. Baylor, as we mentioned, next 5 games have all been postponed at this point in time. And Gonzaga just kind of continues to roll along. And in college basketball, we haven't seen what happened in college football, where teams started to drop because they weren't playing. College basketball has been like, okay, hey, Michigan was really, really good the last time we saw them in person. They've been on this pause. We're not dropping them just because they're on a pause. We still believe that they're really, really good.
It is a difference. Harding, cut off baseline. And then he just dribbled it out of bounds. What do you think about, so Baylor, as you said, 2 games had already been announced, postponed, wiped out. We don't know whether they're going to be played or not. Now another 3, so Baylor's going to be off for a while. Gonzaga had one big 2-week essentially period with COVID problems. Since then, the Zags have just been steadily playing games. They've had a couple here and there moved around, including this one was moved around. But the Zags looking like their season is going to finish a little steadier. Is there an advantage, a disadvantage for for Baylor, for Gonzaga, with the big interruption coming up for the Bears?
I think it's a big advantage to have as much normalcy right now as you possibly can. And it's not just the normalcy of playing games, Dave, but it's the normalcy of practice. Or, you know, when teams go on pause, and they say, okay, well, they have 5 guys available. Which 5? You know, if it's 3 guys that never play and 2 of your starters, I don't know how that makes your team really better moving forward, you know, and so I think that becomes more of a challenge that we're having at this point in time is when you have these disruptions, we don't know who's available to practice on a daily basis and who's not. As long as you're continuing to keep team functions moving in the right direction, I think that benefits anybody.
Brandon Averett answered a beautiful teardrop from Jalen Suggs, who'll now shoot a long-range 3 and hit it. My goodness, Jalen Suggs has just been spectacular when he's been on the court tonight. Nell trying to flip it up to Harms, who's been, I mean, we've hardly noticed him on the court. That's a problem for BYU. Lohner got cut off by Kispert. Good defense by Kispert. Shot clock winding down. Averett step back 3 off to the side.
At the other end, though, the three-pointer by that young man. You talk about next level. That's next level range from beyond the arc. Silky smooth release. Feet set, 1 bounce into your rhythm and let it go. He's getting better from beyond the arc. His consistency has improved over the last 5 or 6 games. He went through a period of time that was extremely rough from deep, and he's continuing to show that he's got confidence in his ability to knock down that shot.
Nembhard backdoors to Suggs, who reverses it in.
Oh, the movement without the ball, it's like poetry.
So good.
I say that, but I'll be honest, I haven't read a lot of poetry lately. But this is beautiful. Like, you watch this as Nembhard attacks. Just a great back cut, and then the athleticism to finish on the opposite side. Fantastic.
The Light Brigade poetry offense for Gonzaga. Barcelo missed it. I mean, you've made the point over and over again, Sean, because Mark Few coaches offense, and the Zags have a lot of stuff they run, and they have set plays, and they'll get Drew Timme in a spot like that and get him a good look to draw a foul. But it's also the improv and the freedom within the system and the ability of these players on Gonzaga to read situations and improvise, and it's beautiful to watch.
That comes with trust. Trust from your coach to your players, and then trust for each other that are out on the floor, that if you make a cut and you're open, even if it's breaking off from the offensive set, but there's a seam or a gap that you feel you can get to, and that your teammate's going to deliver a pass that's on time, on target, and allow you to be in the right position to have the efficiency in which we see. Look, BYU shooting 54% here in the second half. And if I told you, hey, they're shooting 54% in the second half, yet their opponent is shooting 65% on the road. That's how good the execution is.
Timme had his shot blocked. I mean, you saw that shot of Jalen Suggs talking to Mark Few. That's an offensive foul. Barcelo pushed off. Suggs hit the deck. Another BYU turnover. Jalen Suggs is the highest ranked recruit ever to come to Gonzaga. They've had a lot of great recruits under Mark Few.
That is a great flop, too. I haven't seen a flop of that caliber in a long time. Do you know what that was? That was in the first half. He had that called against him. And he's like, hey, if they're going to call in the first half, I'll move my feet and I'll just throw my head back and get it. That was not a charge.
Yeah,
that was
not in this instance, I don't blame him for trying to sell it after what happened there.
That could be on SportsCenter when Neil does the Phantom of the Flopera, and they show that on SportsCenter.
That might be a candidate. What's that?
Neil's a big Gonzaga guy. Like, he's always talking about the Pacific Northwest and Oregon and Spokane and America's team.
Well, Mark Few went to Oregon, so there's a little Ducks connection with this Zags program. But just back to the point I was making, if you're a top recruit like Jalen Suggs, why wouldn't you want to come play for Gonzaga? With the way they play, as open and free as they are, as trusting as he is of his players.
Well, and the success that he's had this year, that Jalen's had in particular, it opens up the door for more to want to follow that. You know, where in the past, and this has been a problem. Like people talk about #1 recruiting class at Kentucky, that's fine. But out of the top 8 recruits in college basketball, one of them was in Lexington. Everybody else went to different locations this past year. Oklahoma State, USC, Gonzaga, Florida State. This kid is special.
Wow. We got knocked off balance, finished anyway, no whistle that time. You watch this game, this is an argument for Jalen Suggs to be taken before anybody.
This second half has been extremely impressive for the Gonzaga Bulldogs, but it's really been impressive for #1. The feel, the understanding, the movement without the ball, and his aggressiveness, next level. As are the Zags.
Here we go. Here we go.
This is about as good as it gets.
Jalen Suggs, 9 of 13 from the field, 22 points. He was marred by foul trouble in the first half, only played 9 minutes and had 9 points. In the second half, he came back out on the floor and was like, I'm feeling it. And he has allowed Gonzaga to really widen their lead here in the second half, as they are shooting 67% as a team in the second half, and Jalen Suggs just sensational.
I mean,
mentioned coming off the game that he just had. Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
It just not just the numbers, although the numbers are great, and you just took us through a couple of the highlights. The way he's moving, the way he's seeing the floor, the athleticism.
I played with a pretty good guard as a freshman coming out of high school in Baron Davis. He was pretty elite. People don't go back and watch Baron Davis out of high school video and see how strong and how explosive he was. Completely different player. But there was just something about playing on that team with Baron that you knew the second he walked on campus that he was a pro. You knew exactly where he was going. And Jalen has had that same kind of feel all season long. And Drew Timme goes back to work underneath. But there's something different about the makeup, the way they move, the way they cut. Everything they do on the floor is a little bit crisper and a little bit different.
Quick catch and release. Trevin Knell knocks down the 3.
Tough night from beyond the arc for BYU. That shot there got them over 30% on the night. But for a large portion of the night, they've been shooting below 30% from deep.
I mean, to me, to beat Gonzaga, you have to knock down those 3s just to even have a chance to keep up with them offensively. Meanwhile, this matchup not favorable for BYU. One-on-one on the low block. Harwood against Timme. That was good defense that time, though. But Watson got an offensive rebound anyway.
So, Dave, to your point, there's even more so than knocking down shots. You can't have 17 turnovers on your home floor. They have 17 turnovers that have led to 23 points for Gonzaga tonight.
Not that time for Jalen Suggs. All right, if you're going to use it as the resume reel, eliminate that one.
I always love when a player misses a shot. You say, like, oh, that's my bad. Well, yeah, you just airball from like 30 feet out. Who else? Who? Anyone else on the floor? Does that
be great if he pointed at a teammate? Blame somebody else. Alex Barcelo, good for him. Alex Barcelo, who couldn't buy a bucket in Spokane, has 18 tonight for BYU.
And I think that, look, I thought they found something in George and in Lohner in that first game, in particular in the second half up in Spokane. And I think Mark Pope saw what we saw when we were watching that game, and subsequently their minutes have increased, their playing time has increased. I think for their offense overall, if there's a third matchup in a conference tournament, I think they're going to go look back and say, hey, Alex Barcelo was able to get here. How did we have so much success getting to this portion of the floor, getting to that middle third and that logo area and finding a way to manufacture points? Can we replicate this? Can we find sets that open it up for us?
Well, Averett hit the three. BYU trying to make a final push. Timeout. 72-58. Number 1 Zags still ahead. All right, Saturday we get you started with a really good game in the Big Ten. A full day of college hoops on ESPN, all our networks. Indiana at Ohio State, now a top 5 team in America. Noon Eastern right here on ESPN. It'll stream live on the ESPN app. Ohio State's won 5 in a row, up to number 4 in the country. Maybe the Buckeyes, one of the few teams that would seem to be able to challenge Mark Few's Gonzaga Bulldogs. I think you and I both think Baylor absolutely can do that. Michigan seems like they could do that. The list could be pretty short, though.
I miss Cosmo. We showed him sitting there. He's his best mascot in all of college. They're throwing him from the three-point line last year. I mean, his dance moves on the football halftimes or out of quarter, I don't even know when they do it. I just watch the videos when they go viral online. But what do you miss about college athletics this year? You miss the environments. You miss the traditions of all of these schools. Duke, Carolina felt different over the weekend. They fought hard in that game, but it was different. And this one tonight, you and I were there last year. That place was rocking last year. It was phenomenal. This year, it just feels different.
Yep.
That's okay.
Drew Timme, 19 and 12 tonight. And he's getting his free throw stroke down after struggling with that for much of this game.
He's once again over 20 points now. Fourth time in 5 games that he's gone over 20.
Kispert blocked with both hands against Brandon Averett. Suggs knows right where Averett is. Kind of rode him down the court the whole way and then laid it in.
How about just the ability to probe and feel and check your windows? You know, I mean, head on a swivel, still having vision straight ahead. And see, that's the thing. It's too many turnovers in this game. I know Gonzaga just gave it right back, but 18 turnovers. You're not beating Gonzaga. You're handing them points when you turn the ball over like that.
Last year on this court, BYU, the last team to beat the Zags. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this year in Provo. Suggs again, but he missed that one. Timme snatches away the rebound. Kispert, quick release for 3. And Lohner finally snatches it down. Barcelo lays it in, and now a timeout on the floor. 3:38 to go. Gonzaga with the lead. Yeah, by the way, we did want to take at least a moment in this game tonight to say goodbye to somebody that we are going to miss greatly. Pedro Gomez, our colleague at ESPN through baseball coverage. On behalf of Sean and our whole crew, I just want to say how much we are going to miss a great man. Gone way too soon. We will never forget you, Pedro Gomez. All right, coming up as soon as we are done, SVP standing by. I give SVP credit. A little late night Sports Center tonight for Scott. College basketball top teams here on Monday in action. The Lakers, can they extend their streak? No Anthony Davis, and Bad Beats, a redemption story. Now that's a good tease. We're watching that for sure. As soon as we're done right here on ESPN, it'll also stream on the app. Never gets old. Well, Gonzaga shooting 53% overall for the game. Not shooting the ball particularly well from the outside. Dominating inside, which happens so often. You've highlighted, Sean Farnham, the turnovers all game long. They've been way too frequent for BYU, and Gonzaga's taken advantage of them. And then there's been Jalen Suggs and Drew Timme. Yep.
And it's just been a well-played game by Gonzaga. You go on the road and you come off of a game where you struggled a little bit against Pacific. You didn't play your best, and you go to play the team that everybody knows is the second best team in the West Coast Conference, and it is the second best team in the West Coast Conference. BYU is an NCAA tournament team.
Yep.
And there are people who say, well, Sean, look at the spread. They're on the road. They're up by 15. It's been kind of like a cruise in here in the second half. Well, Gonzaga has done this to everybody. This isn't exclusive to West Coast Conference play. This isn't exclusive to BYU. Go look at Virginia. Go watch the Kansas game back. Go look at the Iowa game. They were in control of that Iowa game the entire game, the entire contest.
I mean, you saw those numbers, the net rankings, the computer system. BYU is basically a top 25 team playing on its home floor. Gonzaga's had some foul trouble. Corey Kispert's had his quietest game, although he knocks down that three. And yet they're up huge in the last couple minutes. They left Johnson open. His answer for the Cougars.
Great ball movement that time by BYU. Johnson, you talked about in the first half, he's done a lot of really good things in this game. Him and Barcelo, to me, have shown a little bit of like snippets of how could you see like a third matchup between these two teams going and trying to exploit some of those areas where you had success. Maybe more importantly, if you're a college coach and you're at Baylor, you're at Illinois, you're at Ohio State, you're watching this game going, hey, do you see how they elevated up their big, set an on-ball screen, and Barcelo's turning that corner and getting to that WCC logo? I mean, we got guys on our roster that can do that, And they've done this with really nothing out of Harms tonight. Absolutely nothing.
I mean, Matt Harms, for BYU to get where it wants to go, he's played 14 minutes, has not scored a point, has 1 rebound. That's the night for Matt Harms. All right, so disputed out of bounds, under 2 minutes. We're going to look at this one.
Dave, I don't know about you. Look, I want every call to be right. I mean, you and I both agree. The officials do a great job. This is a good crew on this game. We know all of them. All right, that's easy.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah. Well,
BYU ball.
Nemhard, we can turn that call over and give BYU the ball. And that's what they did. All right, BYU down 15, 1:51 to go. Averett. Top line players in there on both sides. That's true. Timmy, the big man, staying with Averett, altering the shot, forced the miss, out of bounds, and it's going to be Gonzaga ball.
Doing a pretty good job by Timmy out top. First of all, if you have to dribble it that many times to try to get by somebody, you probably should have given it up and then try to relocate and get that ball back.
Well, the West Coast Conference having lots of COVID issues. BYU is scheduled to play St. Mary's later this week. That game has been postponed. Suggs went into a triple team. Now trying to take the ball away from behind. Johnson got it back, missed the shot. Ball tapped around to Lohner. Gonzaga is supposed to play USF this weekend. Hopefully that game will go as scheduled. Under a minute to go.
You and I are going to do that game together.
I sure hope so. Now the steal and the lay-in. Mark Pope gets another timeout. Lead is down to 11.
It's crazy how some people just have the ability to predict the score of games, Dave. That's
What
a
was the
nice steal
tease?
and a good finish.
A redemption story. Dave Fleming, Sean Farner back with you for a final 50 seconds. SVP follows us. 78-67 Gonzaga. Looking to stay undefeated, move one win away from another 20-win year. Not that that's in any sort of doubt for the Zags.
There are people right now that are very intrigued with the finish of this contest.
Yes, there are. Well, especially considering, what was it, a 20-point lead? It seemed like a minute ago.
Yep. And a couple turnovers, lazy passes, and it's an 11-point game.
There was an 18-point lead just over a minute ago. Now Gonzaga. We'll see if BYU fouls. They're not fouling. Suggs pull up long two, short, and BYU, two guys run into each other. They don't turn it over though. So now there's some real drama, and Averett lays it in. Timeout again for Mark Pope. Lead is down to 9. Never boring.
No, and Dave, as much as we talk about how things have gone well for Gonzaga tonight, think about this. It's a 9-point deficit. All the turnovers. You got nothing out of Matt Harms. I'm telling you, BYU has a lot to look after this on this game film. To go back and look and say, you know what, third matchup, there are areas we need to clean up. Now, some of those areas, you got to give Gonzaga credit for how they are disruptive and how they can force some of these turnovers. But some of these turnovers were uncharacteristic. Some of those missed layups that you had in the first half, uncharacteristic for BYU.
Right, Lohner's defense. Spencer Johnson played well. Barcelo's mid-range game. You're right. There are some real positives for BYU. Can Gonzaga get the ball in bounds? Yes. Kispert. They're double teaming him, and now they blow the whistle. All right, so Kispert goes to the other end, one of the best free throw shooters in the country. That's the right guy for the Zags and for some other people to have going to the free throw line. Can't you envision?
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
I was just going to say, can't you envision a scenario in the Final Four, Corey Kispert at the line? Who would you be more comfortable in a late game situation at the line than that?
And 90% on the year.
Suggs tried to block it, couldn't do it. Averett laid it in. And now Nembhard's going to get fouled. So we'll go back to the other end. Lead down to 9 again. BYU just doesn't want to give up. I don't blame him.
Well, and the question I would have, though, is I'd go back 3 possessions ago when they allowed, 15, 20 seconds to run off the clock and they didn't foul, and then Suggs missed that pull-up jump shot. There's a lot of time that ran off the clock. If you were going to foul, like I would have personally fouled in that possession and seen what could happen after that. Especially if Drew Timme had the ball in his hands.
Yeah, Timme
struggled from the free throw line.
Big time. Nembhard didn't struggle, made them both. Final 5 seconds. Barcelo from the baseline. No. And the rebound for Jalen Suggs. The final horn sounds. Gonzaga with an 11-point win. Thumbs up for the #1 team in the country.
Impressive when you think about Suggs 24, Timme with 20 and 13, Nembhard with 15. Kispert, like the efficiency in which they play has been outstanding all season long. They capitalize on their opponent's mistakes as well as any team in the country. That's why they're #1 in the country.
So if that was the biggest hurdle to clear before the tournament, a hurdle overcome for the #1 team in the country. For Sean Farnham, Dave Fleming saying so long from Provo. 82-71 Zags win.